Hi guys, this is Bruce Milligan from Self-Pro Repair Solutions. I'm going to be showing you the take apart on the iPhone 6s screen and and putting it back together. And here we go. First off, you're going to need a pentalobe screwdriver, and you're going to want to remove the bottom pentalobe screws at the bottom of the iPhone 6. Fortunately, the focus isn't great here, but it is what it is. This one seems to be a little bit stubborn, and there we go, there's the removal. It's the magnetic screwdriver, that always helps. I'm going to put the screws on a magnetic plate to just kind of keep them in order. You want to keep everything in real nice order, just to make sure that it's going, just make sure that everything is being kept in a nice, orderly fashion. This phone actually only had one screw in it, so I'm going to go ahead now and this is a tool that you want to have. It's an ideal tool for repairing screens. You want to put the suction cups on the screen and one on the back, and then it pries the front screen off of the iPhone 6. In this case, I had a little Roger sticker to remind me who the provider was on the back. I'm going to peel that off as that was causing some suction problems with the suction cup. Alright, so now we have the pry tool. We just want to try and pry the screen open. Want to be gentle with it, as this screen is not a cracked screen. You want to open the screen up. The 6 series isn't sealed very well with tape, and it is easier to come off than the 6S's and the 6S Pluses. You always want to make sure that you're disconnecting the power from the device to ensure that there is no shorting of the device. And we're going to go and do that with a Phillips head screwdriver. I believe it's a T5. Actually, it's a Phillips heads 00 size screwdriver. Is the size that you want to use, and you want to use your plastic scrubber to lift up the power supply, and just kind of use that to get in there. It is a little bit difficult. Oh, there we go. So it is out now, and we're just going to lift it up and get it out of the way. At this point, we're going to want to remove the screws around the ribbons that connect the screen to the device. You're going to want to make sure that you keep these in order, as you don't want to mix them up and put them into different screws when you're reinstalling it. That could destroy the logic board and render the device unusable. Again, I'm using a magnetic mat to ensure that my screws are kept in a nice orderly fashion. For the last one, just twisting it around so the camera can see slightly. There you go. And getting this last one off. Just want to lift that plate out of there. It's usually fairly easy to get out, no problem with that. Alright, now we have multiple ribbons. You just want to use your spudger to remove the ribbon cables from their connections. Looks like the screen fell down a little bit there. Just want to set it up better for the camera so the camera can see. And we're just going to go ahead and lift that up lightly. There's another cable underneath there, and that gets lifted just using the spudger. Alright. Now that the screen is removed, we can just move the device out of the way, and we can just work on the screen. First off, we're going to work on the earphone speaker digitizer. The earphone speaker. It's got the proximity sensor, which ensures that your face doesn't hit buttons when you're making phone calls, as well as it's got the camera sensors as well and the camera attached to it. It's going to remove these screws, again putting them in a nice orderly fashion onto a magnetic mat to ensure that they don't roll around and everything stays in order. I'm just going to want to remove the casing for that. And now lift the camera up. Oh, and there's the magnet for the speaker. There's also the, right now you're going to want to gently lift the proximity sensor out of the way. You don't want to lift it too hard. You don't want to damage it. You want to make sure it comes out real nicely. Don't ever force anything when you're doing this. Just make sure it comes out real nicely and just work it, massage it out. The proximity sensor cable, camera, and light sensor has gaskets. That was the gasket for the light sensor. And we're going to want to get that cable off. Basically, it's glued down to the screen or taped down to the screen. We're going to want to try and work underneath it and get that out. You're going to want to find a way that suits you best to try and get underneath that. For me, I come from multiple angles to try and release that. On some models, I even go as far as to heating it up with a heat gun. I'm just trying to get some better lighting for you guys so you can see this. Alright, so here we go, back to it. Just going to want to lift that up from that angle. And I see that the tape kind of coming off now. Approach it from here, see if we can get at it. It's being a little bit stubborn. Alright, trying to get underneath it a bit, and there we go. Looks like it's coming and it's off. Perfect. Alright, just going to lift that out of there, put it in your organized space, whatever suits you best. Again, magnetic mats are key in this regard. Alright, now we're going to want to remove the screws that are attached to the heat plate. It's a little bit hard to do it when it's lying down, so I'm just going to go ahead and lift this up. Pretty straightforward stuff. There's 6 screws on the side all together, and then 1 at the bottom. that last screw. We want to, again, put that on a magnetic mat to keep it in a nice orderly fashion. And again, we're just going to remove that screw, or at least try our best to. And there we go. It's a little dry, so I'm just going to speed this up a bit. Alright, and that's the last of the screws on the side plate, or on the heat plate. And we're going to take it at the home button. Okay, just checking to make sure all the screws are gone. Yeah, alright, so we're going to go up to the home button now. We're going to remove that screw at the bottom of the heat plate. Alright, put that back on the mat to make sure everything is kept in order. Now, as of right now, we can't actually remove the heat plate yet. We need to remove the home button first. Take that screw off, put it on the magnetic mat. Same with this one. Alright, there we go. Beautiful. Alright. Now we can just pop this home button out. If it's being a little bit more difficult than you want, then you can heat it up with a heat gun. However, in this case, it seems to be coming off alright. We're just going to pop that sucker off. I'm just pushing my finger through on the side, very delicately. And there we go. Alright, we do note that the home button is glued down, and it's also connected to the heat plate, which runs the proximity cable sensors where they connect to the logic board. Pop that off, and now I can go ahead and remove this home button. Kind of try and work underneath it. It looks pretty loose already, so no need to heat it up with a heat gun. Again, you want to be real gentle with it. Looks like my spudger isn't as sharp as I want, so I'm going to need to approach it from another way. In this case, I feel confident just lifting up the home button a little bit in order to try and get that item out, as it does seem pretty loose at this point. Alright, there we go, getting underneath it. Pop, it came off. As easy as that. Alright. Now, a lot of the times what we want to do in order to get the heat plate off is we want to be able to heat that up. You see how it has that little connection there. Alright. She just skipped that part. All I did was kind of lift it up. I had to use a heat gun, so I had to go into the other room. And I applied some heat and lifted it up, and away we go. We do need to apply heat to this area, as you do run the 50-50 chance approximately of ripping that cable. Now we want to be able to reuse the camera gasket as well as the proximity sensor gasket, so we want to lift that up as well, as we're going to reinstall those on our new new digitizer and well, the new screen, the new digitizer and LCD combination. All right. All right, so to the new screen, we want to take some items. We want to basically, at this point, remove that red backing. That doesn't need to be installed with the phone. So that needs to come off. There you go. We also know that there's some stickers attached to the cables, and we need those off as well. I'm going to go ahead and take those stickers off shortly. And you want to be real careful. You don't want to rip any of the cables or your screen won't work. Probably also want to test the screen out first. We'll get to that. There we go. We're going to remove the cables. I probably should be wearing gloves in this case due to the sweat from my hands, however. Alright, so we want to make sure that the heat plate fits on nicely. It does. There's the screws for the heat plate, showing a nice orderly fashion. And now we're going to put those screws onto the heat plate. Attach the first screw here. Alright. Just going to try and get those screws in order. Get them placed back on the heat plate. I'm making a break now. As I am in an office setting, just there are some people in the background here just chatting away, so excuse that. I think they're going for lunch. We'll put that last screw on with the T00 screwdriver. Alright, a couple more on here, and then that's what we're doing. Here we go, and alright. Alright, gotta get that sucker in there. Take that one up too, make sure it's tight. Sometimes they're a little bit tricky, you gotta straighten the screw back up. Get that screw in there. Bam, Bob's your uncle. Alright. Want to get that home button back in. There you go, just get that sucker worked in there. So it'll stick fine. And you just want to push that that ribbon cable back into place. It's got a little knob that it'll stick behind and ensure that it's in its right place. And you want to take that home button and just kind of push it into it until it makes a nice little clicking noise. You'll know when it's in there. Don't be too aggressive with it. as you don't want to break any parts of it, but you want to make sure it's in there. And, oh, looks like I'm having some problems with it. And there we go. Looks like it's in. Alright. I'm just going to do a little bit of a closer inspection to make sure it's in order, and there we go. That's all in place. Alright, so now the plate for the home button, we're just going to slip that into its rightful place. It's easy to know if it's in its right place. Basically, that square in the top left-hand corner goes over top of the connection for the home button. And now we're just going to screw it back in place. Looks like we're having some problems with that screw. It seems to be some sort of problem with the screen that I have. So we'll take a look into it and see what's going on here. Alright, so we're just gonna, I'm just taking a look at it now, just making sure, or find out what's going on with this here. Alright. Alright, well, it seems to be going a little bit better. This is an aftermarket part. I'm going to try and just get that in there. And it seems to be going in now. Maybe I got confused and put in the wrong one. Okay, well that one seems to be going in. Let's try this one out. Nope, not going too well either. Alright. Just taking a closer look. And there we go. With these aftermarket parts, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get the screws in. That's the first time I've run across this. The button is working as it should. With that screw, we're not too worried about damaging anything. In most cases, you want to be a lot more delicate than that, but in this specific location of the screw, it's a plastic gasket and nothing will get damaged in the meantime. So we're all right with pressing a little bit harder and trying to get that screw in there. I'm going to remove the sticker on the area where the proximity sensor and camera cable is and front-facing camera is going to connect to. Stalling. Oh, I'm going to take this off here actually. Okay, there we go. Got that sticker off the front proximity sensor cable. I'm going to put that back on. It's a little bit difficult. There's a little knob you can see where a hole in the proximity sensor cable goes to that we'll be able to match up. That's the proximity sensor holder, so we're going to want to put that back in place, as well as the camera holder as well, or gasket, whatever the case may be. Alright, so see that little hole that it's lining up with, and there we go, so we know it's in the right place. We're going to slip the camera into that area as well, and you're going to want to make sure that the proximity sensor and light sensor is going into the correct place, and we're going to put the speaker connection over top, and then you just kind of flip the camera over and into its holding area. Now you're going to want to get the just taking a closer look, making sure everything is in the right area, including the gasket and including the gaskets for the proximity sensors and the light sensor, and yeah, those should be good. Just double checking everything again. Looks like I forgot to put that in. Don't want to forget that. So that's something that we need to keep everything in nice and in the area it should be. All right. That's not politically correct if you can hear that in the background. But it is what it is at this point. Alright, so we're carrying on with the gasket. We're going to put that gasket in there. And there we go. Kind of just press that in and it'll pull into the right area. Alright, so we got that everything, that device that holds everything in place on the proximity sensor and the camera and everything. We got the cables in the right order. We want to make sure that the cables are in the right order, and that's the way to do it. But now we're going to connect them. Again, don't force them into place. We just want to make sure that they get in there nicely. And they snap nicely. If it doesn't feel right, don't push it. Alright, I'll push that into place here. Have a little bit of problems though. Alright, that one fit quite nicely. We're going to slide that sucker in, and there we go. Make sure we get this one into place. This is a little bit trickier usually. Alright. And there we go. Oh, not yet. Alright. Yeah. Oh, no. There we go. No. This one's being a bit of a pain. A little bit of trouble. Alright, looks like it's in place now. Now you're going to put the power back on. Check out what's going on. Powering up just fine. No dead pixels or anything towards that respect. Just waiting for it to power up here. And we're going to put in a password, but I'm going to cover that sucker up so no one can see it. Alright, and here we go. In this particular iPhone, the Touch ID is working fine. However, the fingerprint sensor won't work as it is a different home button. It's a salvaged phone that I had to fix. Alright, and everything seems to be working as it should. Slide, we're going to shut her down. We're going to put that plate for the cables back on. Again, all the screws are specifically nicely organized in this case, as you can see. Everything's being kept in a nice order. And one by one, we're going to put the screws back on. Here we go. Alright. In this case, I don't have anything for the phone to rest on, so I got to put it down every time. You don't want to push it back too far. You're going to have a chance of ripping those cables, so I'm just going to put it down every time. Here we go. This is a bit of a longer screw. Get that one in place. Again, here we go. Yeah. Alright. Alright, now we're going to want to put the plate for the battery connection in place. Get those screws ready. Alright, get that last screw in there. Perfect. Alright. Now we can go ahead and close up that screen. Want to make sure that you're lining up those ends. There's some clips that go underneath, and you want to clip it all into place. Everything clipped in quite nicely means the screen's perfect. Turning on nicely. Want to make sure again there's no problems before we get those in there. Alright, here they go. Gonna put the pentalobe screws in place. There we go. Perfect. Again, password. I'm gonna lift it up this time. There we go. Perfect. Alright, here we go. Touch ID is not working again because again this is a different home button from a salvaged phone. And everything looks to be working fine. Perfect. Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions, you can drop me an email or please like this page. Thank you.